I'm Judy Penner, and I'm here in the Laura Conyers Smith Municipal Rose Garden in Kansas City, Missouri. And I'm going to show you how to protect your climbing roses in the Midwest winters. The first thing that I do, and I've done this already, is I take my climber and I tie it around a couple of times to put the canes closer together. Um, when I do this, I try to make sure that the canes aren't rubbing, but by doing this, you're also kind of containing your bush or your climber so that it doesn't wiggle as much in the winter time and cause friction and damage to the canes. The next thing I do is I take a lot of straw and I stuff it in to the rose, in the center of the rose to start out with. Then down at the base, I do the same thing where I just tuck the straw in, and you don't have to worry if some of it falls out, because once we put the burlap around it, we can stuff more straw into it. Here's my piece of burlap. This burlap is a pretty long piece, so I'm just going to wrap this around the rose bush, the rose climber, and I'm going to wrap it like a candy cane and just go around the back of the rose and then just bring it up around the top until it completely covers the rose bush. Now, if you have a rose that's on a structure that you can't get behind the back of the rose bush, don't worry about getting behind it, because it's probably protected enough by your house or whatever structure is behind your rose, and you should get good protection, from that. So you can see we've got a little gap here. I just tuck that in, and I grab some more of the straw and put that in this opening here, because what you're trying to do is insulate your canes from the damage of the freezing and thawing. And we need more down here. This is really a great insulator. And a lot of times, I've had years where we've had bad winters, or really mild winters, and then we've had some freezing, drastic up and down temperatures, and the canes will die. And it's really sad with your climbers, because you're looking so forward to having these large climbing roses, and when you lose the canes to winter damage, it's not like the hybrid teas. It's like you have to start all over almost with a new client, getting new growth and getting the climbers to get up to a height that you really want. So once I've done this, I get some more twine and I wrap it around the back of this climber, and usually what I do is I just tie it right here to start with. And I always have to take my gloves off. It's hard to tie with the glove on. So I put that around to secure that, and then I do like the candy cane wrap, where I wrap with the twine all the way around to hold the straw and burlap together, because we get really strong winter winds, and this is really going to protect your rose canes. I don't do this until usually until we have our first freeze. So you wouldn't do this in our area until late October, mid-November would be the time that you would think about doing that. But it's good to get your straw in October because most people have straw available for Halloween or whatever. Then what I do is I will come over to the side of my structure, and I have an eye hook right here, and I'll put my twine through that. And this is what anchors it. So if at your house you have a trellis, then I would go ahead and just take my twine and put it on the trellis to tie that to your structure and keep it from whipping in the wind. You notice I keep saying whipping in the wind. Wind is really tough on roses in the winter as well as the early spring. So this is just going to be your little extra protection to keep it secure. And that's pretty good, but I'm going to take an extra step, and I've got another eye hook down here and just wrap one down at the base. So I'll have it secured in 2 locations. The interesting thing about wrapping your roses like this is that, well, I don't know if it's interesting, but you're going to find out that your neighbors are going to make comments like, "What are you doing?" Because this is so unusual, and not everyone does this, but it really has kind of an architectural look to it in the wintertime. And it also, when it snows, it's just kind of an interesting conversation piece for you in the wintertime. So once you've got it all insulated and secured and tied up, that's all you need to do for the winter. If we have a dry winter, you can still come back and water during those dry months and water this. And the nice thing about the burlap is that it allows moisture to go through it, and you won't have any problem there. But if you take these precautions in the spring, you should have a beautiful climbing rose and lots of flowers to enjoy.